Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Padavajagacharya Ashtotur to the Sri Srimad Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Padavajagacharya Ashtotur to the Sri Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. The Samaveta Bhaktavrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Okay. Narayanam Namaskritya Narang Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jai Mudiriyet. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we should offer our respectful obeisances unto Lord Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and to Narayan Rishi, the Supremest Human Being, and to Mother Saraswati, the Goddess of Learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the Author, and unto Srila Prabhupada, the translator, commentator, and our spiritual master. Nashta Prayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavajuttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering devotional service to the pure devotee, all that is inauspicious within the heart is destroyed almost to nil, and love and devotion to the Supreme Lord, who is glorified in transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Bhakti Dimitri, you're reading Bhagavatam on there. That phone is holy right now. Don't put it on the ground. It's like a book. Okay, last minute class. What verse is it? 18? Yeah, I wasn't here yesterday. So, okay. So, on this 16th day of August 2021 in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, translation commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Canto 5, the Creative Impetus, Chapter 2, the activities of Maharaj Agnidhra, text number 18. It's prose, so let me chant it. We'll read word by word. Sa chatatas tasya vira yuta pater buddhi shila rupa vayak shriyaudharyena Parakshiptamanastena sahayutayuta parivatsaro palarakshanam kalam Jambudvipa patina bhauma swarga bhogan bhubuje. Sa, she. Cha, also. Tataha, thereafter. Tasya, of him. Vira, Utapate, the master of heroes. Buddhi, by the intelligence. Shila, behavior. Rupa, beauty. Vayaha, youth. Shriya, opulence. Audaryena, and by the magnanimity. Parakshipta, attracted. Manaha, her mind. Tena saha, with him. Ayuta, 10,000. Ayuta, 10,000. Parivatsara, years. Upalakshanam, extending. Kalam, time. Jambudvipa, patina, with the king of Jambudvipa. Bhauma, earthly. Svarga, heavenly. Bhogan, pleasures. Bubuje, enjoyed. Translation: attracted by the intelligence, learning, youth, beauty, behavior, opulence, and magnanimity of Agnidhra, the king of Jambudvipa and the master of all heroes, Purvacitti lived with him for many thousands of years and luxuriously enjoyed both worldly and heavenly happiness. Purport: by the grace of Lord Brahma, King Agnidhra and the heavenly girl Purvacitti found their union quite suitable. Thus they enjoyed worldly and heavenly happiness for many thousands of years. I'm going to go on just reading the translation. In the womb of Purvacitti, Maharaj Agnidhra, the best of kings, begot 9 sons, named Nabhi, Kimpurusha, Harivarsha, Ilavrita, Ramyaka, Hiranmaya, Kuru, Bhadrashra, and Ketumala. And those who read the 5th canto, they should ring a bell. These are all names of the Varshas. Purvacitti gave birth to these 9 sons, 1 each year, but after they grew up, she left them at home and again approached Lord Brahma to worship him. Purport: there are many instances in which Apsaras, heavenly angels, have descended to this earth by the order of a superior demigod like Lord Brahma or Lord Indra, have followed the demigod's order by marrying someone and giving birth to children, and have then returned to their celestial homes. For example, after Menaka, the celestial woman who had come to delude Vishwamitra Muni, gave birth to the child Shakuntala, she left both the child and her husband and returned to the heavenly planets. Purvacitti did not remain permanently with Maharaj Agnidhra. After cooperating in his household affairs, she left Maharaj Agnidhra and all 9 sons and returned to Brahma to worship him. All right, let's do one more. Because of drinking the breast milk of their mother, the 9 sons of Agnidhra naturally had strong, well-built bodies. Their father gave them each a kingdom in a different part of Jambudvipa. The kingdoms were named according to the names of the sons. Thus the sons of Agnidhra ruled the kingdoms they received from their father. And the word for kingdoms is Varshani, the Varshas, different parts of Jambudvipa. This thing has gone wild. What verse did I just read? Number 21. Okay. Let me go on here. The Acharyas specifically mention that in this verse the words Matuhu Anugrahat, by the mercy of their mother, refer to the breast milk of their mother. In India it is a common belief that if a baby is fed his mother's milk for at least 6 months, his body will be very strong. Besides that, it is mentioned herein that all the sons of Agnidhra were endowed with the nature of their mother. The Bhagavad Gita 140 also declares Strishu Dushtashu Varshneya Jayate Varnasankaraha. When women are polluted, Varnasankara, unqualified children, are generated. And when the Varnasankara population increases, the entire world becomes hellish. Therefore, according to Manasamhita, a woman needs a great deal of protection in order to remain pure and chaste so that her children can be fully engaged for the benefit of human society. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanandjana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmidatam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So we just read a few verses of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and there's nothing directly about Krishna there. The spiritual world, devotional service. And yet, Srimad Bhagavatam, we said in every verse and every word, is glorification of Krishna and his incarnations, the process of devotional service, etc. So let's see how this pertains. In this purport, Prabhupada reveals how, first of all, that there's a tradition in India, or a belief, he says, that if a baby is fed mother's milk for at least 6 months, his body will be very strong. So this is the natural way in which children are raised. The mother has breast milk when she gives birth to a child, and that milk is exactly suited for what the child needs. And yet in modern day, at least in America and the West, breastfeeding is certainly not universal. There's all kinds of artificial things. The mother may be going to work. That's a big thing. Women out of the home, which is really a disaster for the children, emotionally and so forth. But it's very common. So Prabhupada is giving us some instruction here, some information of just the basic human life, how children can be raised properly. When you think about it, if there's a lot of Varna Sankara in the world, unwanted children. Now, unwanted children has two meanings, right? It has meaning that the parents don't really want them, and so the contraception didn't work, and they may have a little bit of humanity and not perform an abortion. So they have these children, but the children are a burden. Chances are they both work, and the children are raised by a third party, by child care, whatever. So already you're creating a generation that is emotionally disturbed, and along with all the other things that are happening in Kali Yuga, you end up with a lot of Varna Sankara, unwanted in both words, both senses. They're not really wanted so much by the parents because it interferes with the sense gratification or something, and they're certainly not wanted in society because they're a disturbance. They're rogues, they're thieves, they're layabouts, whatever. So this is something that we as devotees are concerned about, because Krishna is concerned about it. When he, as you may know by now, what Krishna says in the 4th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Yada yada hi dharmasya glani bhavati bharata abhyutanam adharmasya tadatmanam sajamyaham. That whenever there is a upsurge of discrepancies in dharma, in religion, and Manosamhita is part of dharma, what to speak of Bhagavatam, I come, I admit myself. Srijami, Prabhupada focuses on that word in the purport. Srijami doesn't mean that he takes birth. It means that he descends, that he manifests. In order to protect the devotees, to reestablish real dharma, and to get rid of the miscreants, the atheists who have taken over. So he came 5,000 years ago in order to do that. And yet, after, of course, he reinstituted Dharma in the form of the Pandavas, and Purvacitti was the next in line, and so that was holding back Kali Yuga. But when you read the first canto of Bhagavatam, you see that Kali Yuga is making inroads, and really, you can't hold back the ages. The ages are going to come. So, what to do? Krishna has already come. Well, Lord Chaitanya comes after 4,500 years into the Kali Yuga, and he comes for the same reason, but the method is different, because people are not ready to surrender. They're so fallen. They're all miscreants, Varna Sankara. What to do about them? I was just reading in the 12th canto this Bhumi Gita, then followed by Shukadev's kind of summary of it, how this age is, all of the good things of previous ages, the mercy, truthfulness, longevity, a whole list. They're all decreasing, and all the bad things that come in are all increasing. So this is the Kali Yuga. Right at the beginning of Bhagavatam, we get an assessment. First chapter, first canto, I think takes 9 or 10. Prayano payashaksabhya. Kalavasmin yugajana manda sumanda matayo manda bhagya yupadrata. Manda is not good. It's bad, it's slow. Three times in this verse. Prayena means for the most part, all of these things pertain. Don't live very long. 100 years is nothing compared to previous ages. 1,000 years just in Dwapara Yuga, 10,000 in Treta, 100,000 in Satya Yuga. Can you imagine what you could do with 100,000 years trying to perfect your japa? You know. So, that's the first thing. Then the next thing is lazy in the matter of a spiritual life. How many times do people say, "No, I have no time, not interested"? You know, those who contact the people, you know, the outsiders in this world know that it's rare to find someone who shows any interest in these things. So, and then if someone is interested, sumanda matayo, you're very likely be misguided by some cheating yogi, bogus yogi, you know, some grifter in the guise of a religious man. The Western religion, so-called, is full of it. All these big churches, you know, send me a donation, we'll pray for you, you know, and then thousands of people are taken in. So what to do? So, and then manda bhagya. In this way, they're unfortunate and always disturbed. The mind is disturbed by so many things in this age, you know. So, and yet the Bhagavatam goes on, you know, giving instruction, and the sages at Naimisharanya, they were concerned about this Kali Yuga, what's going to happen. And so the Bhagavatam is spoken, and throughout the Bhagavatam you'll see in that first chapter again, Apanak Sanksatim Gauram Yannama Bhavashoganam, all about chanting in the holy name, that you can ward off fear personified, you know. And the very last verse you may not know if you haven't read through the whole Bhagavatam. It's about Sankirtan. Nama Sankirtananyasya. I just forget how it goes, but Nam Sankirtan to Hari and offering obeisance to him gets rid of all sinful reactions and gives one all auspiciousness. So, last verse. So, Lord Chaitanya comes for the same reason, but he has a different method. He didn't speak in the same way Krishna spoke, surrender or else, basically. If you surrender, then I'll protect you and everything will be fine. He said, don't worry about that right now. Just come and chant. Take this holy name. And he would preach. You read the Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's most amazing, especially that South India tour, when he took sannyas and he set up in Jagannath Puri, but then very quickly he left on the South Indian tour. He delivered Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, you know, miraculously. And then his main way of preaching was just walking down the street, chanting Hare Krishna. People would see them, they would immediately get prema bhakti. And they'd be chanting. They go back to their homes and people would associate with them. They would catch the chanting pandemic. And before long, it was spreading everywhere. Positive. That was his method of preaching. That was his power. So, and that, he explained to Prakashananda Sarvajit, this is what my spiritual master told me. I have to research that. I'm just showing a doubt whether that he was just saying that, you know, that my spiritual master called me a fool and said you're only qualified to chant Hare Krishna. You know. But anyway, that's what he presented that way. And that's what we are, certainly. So, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama eva kevalam, kalo nasteva nasteva gataranyata. So that's really what this movement is all about. And yet here we have this section where we find that Agnidhra was actually, and it has this incredible scene, you know, we have verse after verse of how he praised her and everything, and it was all very skillfully done and attracted her, and but it was all, but Prabhupada says in the purport, of course he wasn't really you know, bewildered by her. You know, it was all simply to attract her, and so that he could have the sons, and he could live, and you know, because that's what the Brahma wanted to happen. He needed, you know, the qualified sons to have to rule the planets and populate. That's his headache. So this is he's doing service here. So what to take of this is that this comes up in the Bhagavad Gita, in the first chapter. This is one of the reasons Arjuna doesn't want to fight, because he cites this: if I fight this battle and all these men are killed, then what's going to happen to their wives? They'll be unprotected, and inevitably we'll have Varna Sankara, which will create hell on earth. And he was right, you know. But the overriding principle is that Krishna wanted it to happen, and that he had a plan for how Dharma would eventually rule. And so, in spite of the fact, and if you read the Bhagavatam, you'll see how after the battle, Dharmaraj himself, Yudhishthira, was inconsolable. He looked at can you imagine? It's millions and millions of dead soldiers, and animals too. He was also struck in the heart about all these dead animals. Also, I can rule this kingdom. He was very depressed by that. And so he went to see Bhishma Dev, and Bhishma Dev was encouraging him, and gradually he brought him up to the right consciousness so he could rule. And there's so much instruction in the Mahabharata, chapters and chapters, before Bhishma Dev leaves by his own will. So this concept here, what is it? Strishu Dushastra Varshaniya. Prabhupada is talking about how and Mano Samhita, that this principle of a woman being protected is practically unheard of. They think it's an insult. But actually what happens, I'll just be honest with you. I went down one day, it was a Saturday, they started a Harinam. You were there, I think, right? At that time. And there was Balaram and a couple others. And I sat down, and it was a warm day, and there were just all these people out running on the, walking on the way there. I don't call it a boardwalk, whatever. What is that? Without mind. Can you investigate? Dimitri's on the case. So I was shocked, frankly, because I don't spend time down there. Honestly, I haven't been down there in months. I've gone to the beach. I could be as well be in Oklahoma as well as Pacific Beach. But I went down to the Harinam, and I was shocked and not agitated, but just by women walking along the way, and they felt they have to be practically undressed, and it was just it was horrible. It was horrible. That's their mentality. It's the degradation of women is a sure sign that it's a degradation of society itself. And so this is the situation that we have in trying to preach Krishna consciousness. But the holy name, the process of devotional service that we've been given, is so powerful, especially on the basis we have these wonderful books that Srila Prabhupada has given us, that if one begins to chant, associate with devotees, and read the books and take it seriously, the whole life can undergo a revolution, just like ours has. The concept of who you are, what your mission in life is, what's valuable, changes. And as soon as you accept that and start the process of chanting and doing the other process of devotional service, your whole inner consciousness changes, and you can see society through different eyes, through a different way. You're not feeling like this crazy thing with incels. You know what incels are? We're volcels, right? I mean, involuntary celibates. It's just they go crazy. One guy went crazy recently, killed some children, and it's madness. They had an incident up in Isla Vista a few years ago. He had to go. He was trying to kill all the beautiful women because they wouldn't have sex with him. This is insanity. We live in there's so much insanity in this world. So this is the countervailing force. We're part of this relatively, let's face it, small crew who are trying to be sane, coming to a civilized life, reforming our whole consciousness, and becoming agents, becoming, first of all, ourselves, peaceful and joyful, which is only possible in Krishna consciousness, and experiencing discovering more and more each day, and trying and accepting the mission that Srila Prabhupada gave, him following the whole Sampradaya coming down from Lord Chaitanya, which is that approach these people as low as they are. Jagai Madai is a perfect example. And somehow try to induce them to take Krishna consciousness, take a book, say Hare Krishna, come to the temple. In other words, this is what Krishna is doing. He invites. He reaches out because he is eternally concerned. This word magnanimity comes in, which is one of Prabhupada's favorite words. It's for audaryena. Now, Lord Chaitanya is known as the supremely udara incarnation, munificent, meaning generous. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Badayade. The most munificent, generous, because he's giving the most valuable thing for free. Krishna Prema Badayade. He's giving it out. This is the assessment of Rupa Goswami when they wrote that verse. So we've been beneficiaries of that audarya. Prabhupada's great effort, and the exact this temple exists, and the devotees reaching out to us. It's a chain. It's, we represent it, and we carry on the chain, just like they used to with that channeling. It's a good word for us. Channeling Lord Chaitanya's mood and Prabhupada's mood, And by doing that, of course, you get more mercy from Krishna. He says, that's the dearest to me are those devotees who take the trouble to preach and try to approach, and spread the knowledge. So that's this, little section that we read here. The part that's, because I wasn't supposed to give class, so this is entirely, off the top of my head, so to speak. But we're learning a little bit here about what real civilization is like, and we're trying to be civilized and self-controlled, and that means that we're concerned about everyone, because we see them as souls, as spirit souls, as children of Krishna, who have wandered just like we were in the darkness. I was reviewing some of the verses about the holy name. There's a wonderful ashtaka. Again, it's like Shikshashtaka. I think it was assembled because there's no ninth verse, by Rupa Goswami, Nam Ashtaka. And he compares the sun to a holy, the name to the sun, the holy name to the sun, rising. Yada basas pyudyan kavalita bhavadvanta vibhavo disham tatvan dhanam abhidishati bhakti pranayanim janastosyo datam jagati bhagavan nama tadane kute tandin bhaktim yahi amahimanam bhavati. Here he says, who can possibly fully glorify you, O holy name? Yada baso pyudyan. Even the reflection, namabas, of like the sun rising when the sky is getting a little light, that's abas. Even that is so powerful. It completely, he used a very powerful metaphor. Kavaldita bhavadvanta vibhavo. It swallows up the prowess of the darkness of illusion, of Maya. Just the holy name beginning to rise in your heart, Yada baso pyudin kavaldita bhavadvanta. And it shows you the path. Imagine you're in a deep jungle, and it's completely dark, very dangerous. That's our situation. But as soon as the sunlight starts to penetrate, then you can see the path out, you see, and you're saved. You can say, I go this way, that I can get free out of this jungle. So that's what he's saying, is that this world, this age we're in, the material world, is just like a jungle full of dangerous animals and traps and all kinds of things. It's very frightening. But the holy name, if you accept it and you chant and you begin to even experience a little bit namabas, it's like the sun rising, and so many sinful reactions are cleared away, and illusion is cleared away, and like Lord Chaitanya said, Vardavadu Jivanam, Vidyavadu Jivanam, the life and soul of knowledge. So you become from within. Krishna's giving you light, enlightenment, but mostly it's coming from without, from his representatives, as we've been reading some of these quotes, through the Shastra and through the Guru, or gurus, instructing gurus, Diksha gurus, devotees in general. So in this way, Krishna is reaching out to us in this way, to save us with the light of knowledge and the holy name, which is himself. So that's reading that, and he's saying there, and then the verse ends, and therefore who could possibly adequately glorify you? It's impossible to say, because it's Krishna himself. You can't fully glorify Krishna. So we've been recipients of that holy name and the knowledge that's come from the holy name, from Krishna and all of this. So we should relish it, take advantage of it, become strict in our sadhana, and go out and try to bring as many people to Krishna consciousness as possible. That's what the meaning of these temples are. So this is what I'm picking up here. Manu says, a woman needs a great deal of protection to remain pure and chaste so that her children can be fully engaged for the benefit of human society. You can see what a jungle we're living in. But still, that's the ideal. And we have various, temples and centers and farms and things where this is being practiced. And we ourselves can also become agents of this pure knowledge and powerful knowledge. So we have a great opportunity. Okay, any questions or comments so far? Otherwise, I'll read a few more verses.
I have a question.
Oh, okay, let's let Vijay Krishna Prabhu. Go ahead, Vijay.
Dravida Prabhu, my humble obeisances.
Mine too.
Prabhu, my question is related to text 18.
Uh-huh.
And the translation recognizes Agnidhra as the king of Jambudvipa and master of all heroes. End quote. Prabhu, my question is related to, in accordance with this quote, I can see, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the concept of hero exists in Vedic civilization. But the problem is that I do not know what are the symptoms to be found in the Vedic hero. So my question is, who is the Vedic hero? What are the symptoms?
Well, hero in this context, especially, he's of course a Kshatriya, and we have so many nice examples, like the Pandavas. They're all heroes. They're great fighters for the right, for Dharma, and they're also examples of that. They're great devotees. In a sense, becoming a serious devotee requires a lot of determination, and requires the ability to face adversity and all kinds of obstacles. So it's almost like a fight. Prabhupada said it's like a declaring war on Maya. So we may not think of ourselves as heroes, but really to be serious devotee and advance, it requires that kind of courage, as Srila Prabhupada had in abundance, to overcome the obstacles, both internal and external. External mostly in terms of preaching, but internal in terms of advancing in devotional service. So Agnidhra was both. He was of course a great Kshatriya, and he when his children, he divided the whole Jambudvipa into these varshas, and he gave each one a section. And that's why when I read, when you first read this, because I worked on the 5th canto, I remember back in 75. And we got to know these names: Kim Purusha Varsha, Hadi Varsha, and Ilavrita Varsha, which is the former name of Bharta Varsha, and all these things. So this is a tremendous job he's done. In other words, he's carried out his service, his duty of pushing on the population of the earth, and he has all these wonderful sons, who is described in our purport, and they're very nicely raised and very strong themselves. And so they're each going to get this a good hunk of the Jambudvipa, and Nabi is going to be the father of Rishabdev, who's an incarnation, plus 99 other exalted sons, one of whom is Bharat himself. So Agnidhra, in that sense, both in his being a Kshatriya, conquering and ruling, as well as passing on his virtue to the next generation. He's a hero in all those senses, I would say.
Dravida Prabhu, thank you very much. Again, wonderful answer to my question. Hare Krishna.
If one of these days I don't give a wonderful answer, I'm going to fall off this Vyasa-san. I don't know if it... Anyway, thank you. Haribol Vijay.
Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Bob, give him a mic.
Can I ask something first?
Oh, you have, I'm sorry.
I was going to ask, what was it? Oh, in the, the verse 18, it mentions Purvacitti and Agnidhra, they're enjoying both worldly and heavenly happiness. But, so what's the distinction there, if it's both kind of material happiness and it's elevated, even if it's on earth, because it's, she's a beautiful lady. So
Bhoma and Svarga. I honestly don't know what the distinction is. Well, she's heavenly already. I mean, she's coming from heaven. Yeah, and I mean, it's not only there, it's Prabhupada mentions in the purport as well. I don't know what he's referring to there.
The other thing I had was more of a comment, but I hadn't heard this term incel before, but I thought it's actually pretty telling of the sinful nature of the material of the modern world specifically, because that's not really a celibate, but they call that involuntary. But this is kind of the modern view of celibacy, is that it's celibacy means best case scenario that you at least don't have like a sexual partner or something like that.
Right.
And that there's no such thing as actual celibacy in the human race or something like that. Because if they were actually celibate, then they wouldn't be so crazy. It seems that part of the problem is that they aren't celibate, and they objectify women like anything. There's, they're really, they see women as sexual objects, but they're frustrated because those sexual objects won't cooperate with them, and so then they go, So it seems that, like you're saying, like the modern world will say, like part of it is that they're celibate, they're involuntarily celibate, and it leads them to being nuts. But
the
thing is that
crazy.
The sexual objectification of women and specifically coming from women not being protected, and like pornography and all of these industries, that's leading to them being particularly.
The problem is that it's such a hypersexualized so-called civilization, and the women are so unchaste that it's everywhere. And if you're materially inclined, if you're in total maya, mode of ignorance, then you're completely frustrated. I remember Prabhupada on a tape once, he's explaining how in the Vedic culture, you have this culture where the father's one of his prime responsibilities is to get his daughters married, by at least age 16. After that, it's a major crisis in the family, And so the idea is, and then he says, because there's such a need for that, every man practically can get married, even if you're very ugly. Because some women will marry you because they have to marry off that daughter, right? So, in other words, it's a whole different ball game when you have this free for all. It just devolves into a bacchanalia, and it's horrible. The women are unprotected; they're degraded. The men are degraded and become weaker and weaker because all the sex, and which includes intoxication, of course, and this is the people who are running things and the people who are around. So it's a overwhelming Varnasankara. And Varnasankara really means that it's just children of mixed castes. Like what we have is far beyond that kind of Varnasankara. It's practically Prabhupada's favorite term. This comes up in the Bhagavatam. Dvipada pashu, animals with two legs. We look like human beings, but really our consciousness and activities are on a very animalistic level. So it's a key element, and that you will have this element, a whole bunch of people men who are, anything but celibate in a good way, and they're just gone crazy because no one will marry them, and they say, just because of my the bone structure in my face, I can't have any sex. No one will have any sex with me. In other words, they're ugly. They're not. Don't have it. It's such a low level, and it's incendiary in society. It leads to these incidents where someone goes on a shooting rampage. It's good, Whereas the voluntary celibacy, with Krishna consciousness, where you're getting a higher taste, you can actually become peaceful. And you can see that when you can experience more and more of the joy and the happiness of Krishna consciousness, it doesn't have to end. The sex pleasure is so fleeting, it's so frustrating anyway. Unless it's in the context of a Vedic culture and, Dharma Varudo Buddha Shuddha Kamasmi, that, you're actually doing it for the purpose of having children and it's under control. It can be a tremendous, how do I say it, like a main degrading element of society when it's out of control like that, which is what we have here. You have the anti-abortion forces, which of course we like, but the people who do that, who are after that, are the far rightists, and the so-called progressives, they want abortion rights. This whole thing with the Supreme Court and everything may be overturned now. So it's crazy because the right, so-called right, is very much so-called concerned about the children in the womb. But as soon as they come out, they work against welfare, against child care, against all this stuff. As soon as you're born, they don't care about you if you're poor, So the whole thing is completely crazy. And really to reinstitute the Vedic culture, Prabhupada said, well, it won't be possible to do that, but we can try to do as much as we can to at least spread, people can know what real virtue is. And you can experience so much relief just from chanting, no matter what situation you're in, no matter how degraded you are. This comes up again and again. That any degraded, group in the society, and that includes practically everyone right now, if they take shelter of one who's taken shelter of Krishna, and they begin the process of devotion, they also can be purified, from any situation. So that's what we're doing, representing Krishna. Bob, you had something? All right, and then maybe we'll end there after yours. It helps if you prepare.
Sure. Thank you for taking my comment, and thank you for such a nice class.
How do you roll, Bob?
Our culture, we dictate to the young men that they're supposed to go out and find illicit sex partners, and then they do, and they enjoy it, so they stay with these people. But how is a person to respect someone that, will have sex with them upon, right after meeting, It's sad. I was out on Garnett the other night. If you want to see the state of our society, go to Garnett.
Was it a Friday or a Saturday night?
Friday or Saturday night. It's incredible. Anyways, I was, so according to Srimad Bhagavatam, is it safe to say that Vedic culture would be breastfeed for 6 months or so, according to what we just read?
Is that what Prabhupada said, 6 months?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it says here in the United States, the average maternity leave is 12 weeks, and because of economic purposes, most new mothers return to work within 10.
It's a disaster. All the women working in, like that, and then the children being raised by others. Yeah, and it's, physiologically it's important, just to get a strong body, to be breastfed, and that's becoming rarer and rarer. Only hope. Chant the holy name in Prabhupada's books. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hari Hari Bol. All right. Now I suggest that I take